straight up reactions, and you know, that way I'll be able to judge what's what's good. Can you see? Can you see yourselves?
Yeah, it's not really us.
That's really you.
That's the old.
Okay. So okay.
Well,
So
enough about us.
Enough about us. On to the poetry. Actually, this is kind of a story and a poem. There was this struggling poet. He was headed to the stage one night, and in a somewhat spontaneous inspiration, he sat down his laptop, launched iMovie, and pressed record. And he turned it ceremoniously toward the audience. He explained that this was because he had been reading from his iPad and didn't really see the audience reaction. His solution was to record the crowd reactions for study later. It did not take long for a group that had not paid much attention before to arrange themselves in a more self-aware listening posture. He had dedicated himself to following his muse after his girlfriend said he made a better poet than a lover in a breakup tweet. He started going to a local poetry open mic and finally worked up the nerve to read some of his continuing series of love-lost poems. During his first reading, he noticed the host hold up one finger. He was so happy at the approbation that he hurried off without going on to the next poem. The host smiled and he sailed out with new resolve. That night, after the first recording, he started to identify reactions that he felt were positive in the open mic crowd. And he applied what he had learned to subsequent poems. Everyone noticed more people showing up each week. Competing poets started asking him how he did it, what programs he used, and if it was easy to do. He felt the new audience attendance was evidence enough that the work was getting better. In an effort to get a wider set of reactions, he started posting his videos on YouTube. And when one night at an open mic, a certain drunken local legend tried to denounce the effort as anti-artistic posing, the recording on YouTube made it onto slashdot.com as a geek oddity. And then the whole thing went viral. Thousands of hits is poetry stardom. And the Twitter jilted lover poet had arrived. The open mic was a shambles, as everyone who had ever attended vied for the hipster equivalent of aggressive disinterest. The YouTube viewers started commenting on certain coffeehouse denizens with cruel-to-be-kind nicknames like Top Hat, Teabags, TV Lips, Painted Eyes, and the Hopeless Twins. Some started dressing for the occasion. Couples made out. Guys mugged like preteens at a photo shoot, and the whole unofficial dress code went up several notches. There were even people discussing possible flashes. It did not take long before there were hundreds of new poets recording audiences all over the country, slam artists showering listeners with spit and style. Whole schools of types of viewers blossomed on the internet seemingly overnight. There were even arguments about where the idea had originated. No one could dispute who had originally posted or how the first occasion came down. But doubt is a lawyer's friend because it is the territory of speculation. Some would say he had planned the whole thing ahead of time. Then others would contend he was incapable. Fame is a rocket ship, and eventually it landed him on stage on late-night television. As the lights came up, the host said, "We have a surprise for you." And the cameras turned and collected in the studio audience parts of the open mic crowd from those early recordings. He began to speak and was drowned out by a roar. when the cameras turned to him again.
It just went out.
Thank you. When the cameras turned to him again, he was gone. The following week, he did not come to the coffee house, jammed as it was with expectant faces ready for their chance to react in a way that would get them mentioned, get them a nickname, stand out from the rest. They collected at the sign-up sheet, and the final spot, number 13, remained blank. The next week, there were more in attendance. No one wanted to be the first to admit they'd only come to be recorded. This was well in evidence for the many postings on various video feeds from this or that audience veteran. But the poet's feed was quiet. Then, when all the wind was out of the sails of the ship of public attention, one night, deep in the cold of winter, in classic dark poet time, the number 13 spot read, Lessons. A young poet from a local high school slam team walked up, put a laptop on the stool, and turned it to the audience. There, frozen on the screen, was a new posting on the audience recorder's feed. The student pressed play, and the voice intoned. When the poet's poem is last in line, there is often no poet there in time. For it is in our quest for fleeting glories, in our manic journey in passing stories, that we often forget about the collective mind. It's true, one should make no mistake that I was only on the social make. I don't even know what I was thinking, but that one idea was not my doing, which I had missed when I had turned away. For this sin against the will of art, I have paid a certain price in part. Though you know the pen is in my hand, it's not often mine at my command. What happens then is often cruelly kind. Poetry is not always what we meant, and is often quite the opposite. It's as if we should start to write without a thought in mind when starting out, to bring true inspiration into play. We cannot compete and find in skill a way around our searching reel, sitting at the keyboard being ready, heart in chest and head on steady, eyes aloft and antenna aimed. Starting out, then seeing somewhat else occur, we haven't really lost our way for sure. All an empty poem I could not mend, fame I gained was worthless in the end. And for lost love is the only name I use. When at last I looked upon the audience for the lover lost in this sad instance, I was simply looking for a substitute, and I would surely fail, there's no dispute. My deprivation had me down and maimed. Not knowing I'd not obtained the fantasy of peer acceptance or artist fraternity. For proving a better poet I have not, but in my lover I found what I sought. I give myself tonight unto the muse.
Thank you.